What's going on, everybody? This is Joe.
And Amy.
And we are back with more MTG Arena, this time with our first non-preview stream, Theros Beyond Death Draft. If you are unfamiliar with our formatting and how we do things, I am a little bit more experienced at this game.
And I am not.
And so we are here working together to complete a draft. Amy is going to be predominantly making the picks and stuff, but any questions that she has or any advice that I might have will be imparted, and then we will do our best to have Amy make the most informed decision. I do not purport to be an expert by any means, so if you are here looking for top-level gameplay, you are in the wrong place, but we do appreciate you stopping by. To start our first draft, this is our Pack 1, Pick 1. See? Pack 1, Pick 1. We usually start up at the rares, then go to the uncommons and then the commons, so that if anything jumps out at us, we can just say, yes, that one. But we start with the temple. This is the blue-black temple, Temple of Deceit. It enters tapped. All temples enter tapped, and all of them, when they enter, you scry one.
Oh, okay.
And then they just make one of two colors.
Right.
This one, like I said, being blue-black. Typically, you don't pick temples first because you don't know what colors you're going to need, and temples are not the things to try to pull you into a particular color because you don't know what good cards you're going to get in those colors. It just doesn't make sense. Some people tend to rare draft these sometimes just because they're dual lands, they're in the colors, they're for standard, but that is in no way what we're doing here,
No.
So we will not be picking this temple. But onto the uncommons, we start with the Archon of Falling Stars.
I love this art.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's a little weird to me. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's a knight riding a cow bull thing, but with wings, and it's got, like, more horns than it should. But it's awesome art. I do definitely agree with you. The colors are fantastic.
Yeah.
But it is a 4/4 flyer for 6. And when it dies, you may return an enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield. So now, notably, an enchantment could be just an enchantment that stays on the field, or this set has enchantment creatures, like this Griffin or this Sphinx, for example.
I still feel like that card's kind of bad.
This card.
Yeah.
You would be very incorrect in that,
Really?
in that thought, yes. I've had many decks where this was the best card in my deck by far.
What?
Yeah, this card's great.
Explain that to me.
I mean, it's a 4/4.
I feel like it costs so much, and yeah, it's a 4/4, but like the only other well, it has
It's a
flying.
flyer. Yes. It's a 4/4 flyer, which means it's larger than almost all other fly. Like, look, this is a 3/4 flyer right here.
Yeah.
It just kills this outright. And this doesn't kill it in response. Okay. But if this were to die, then you get an enchantment, any enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield, and there are a lot in this set. Elspeth's Nightmare is an enchantment.
I feel like getting, I don't know.
Onto the battlefield. You just get it back for free.
But enchantments usually stay around.
Not if they're creatures.
Yeah.
And sagas go away after the 3rd chapter.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a lot better than you think, but that doesn't mean you have to pick it. I'm just saying, like, it's a lot better than you think. Then we have Elspeth's Nightmare. Speaking of sweet art, 2 and a black for a saga. So do you remember how sagas work?
Not really.
Okay. So you play it and chapter 1 happens. And then each subsequent chapter happens at the beginning of your turn after you've drawn your card.
Okay.
So
you don't really have control over when it's happening.
I mean,
it
you
just
know,
happens in succession.
You know when it's happening, but you don't decide when it's happening.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Correct. So chapter 1 happens as soon as you play it. You destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less. And it's 3 mana, so if you have it early enough in the game, they will likely have a target for this card.
Okay.
Then you pass your turn to your opponent. They take their turn. They pass their turn to you. You untap, upkeep, draw, and then after your draw, chapter 2 happens, where target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from their hand, and they discard that card. So you do get the benefit of seeing their whole hand, whatever's in their hand at that point, but realize that they do know that this chapter is coming up, so they will likely be able, if they have the mana for it, they will likely be able to play the best card in their hand that would fall into this criteria that they don't want you to have.
Okay.
Just FYI, like, that's something that first strategy that your opponent would be doing is that they're like, oh, because like you said, you know when it's coming up, right? So they're going to be like, well, when I pass my turn, they're going to get to look at my whole hand and make me discard something. So I better play this really
thing where you get to decide when that's happening.
Correct.
So it can be when it's most beneficial to you. It's just you play it. The first thing happens, the next turn, the second thing happens, the third turn, the third thing happens.
Correct. And so speaking of which, right, so now you've destroyed a creature, you put a creature in their graveyard, you've gotten a card out of their hand, hopefully, and that card's in their graveyard. And so then the third thing, you exile a target opponent's graveyard. So it's going to be a one-on-one game. You're going to exile their graveyard. So that's kind of the point, right, with Elspeth's Nightmare is like, at minimum, you're getting the card that you got rid of in Chapter 1, the card that you got rid of in Chapter 2, you're exiling both of them.
Right.
If it's later enough in the game, you're exiling it's everything in their graveyard no matter what.
Right.
So, like, that's why I was saying it's 3 mana. So, like, early on, at minimum, you're getting at least these 2, which are still... You choose the creature with power 2 or less that you're destroying, so presumably you want to get rid of it, and you're choosing the thing out of their hand. But there are definitely scenarios where there's only one thing that falls into Chapter 1 criteria. There's only one thing that falls within Chapter 2 criteria. Yeah. And then you do get to get rid of both of them, but, you know, it's not a perfect system.
Right.
But I have gone on record and said that I don't love the playability of the uncommon sagas in this set. I have said that many times. The art is an entirely different story. Okay, and then on to uncommon number 3, Eutropia, the twice favored. She is 1 green-blue for a 2/2 legendary creature, human wizard. She has Constellation, which means whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and that creature gains flying until end of turn. Mm-hmm. So at minimum, you can put that on her, but if you have other creatures, you can give them counters and give them flying until end of turn.
Okay.
And that's whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control.
Okay.
So, just with the rare and the 3 uncommons, does anything jump out at you, or would you want to move on to the commons, no question?
I don't know. I feel like I remember this Envoy being kind of good.
Which Envoy? This one?
Yeah.
It's not a bad card. 1 and a white for a 1/2 flyer, and aura spells you cast cost 1 less. So in this pack, I don't see any auras at all, but there are a good number of auras in this set.
What's this black one?
Which one?
Underworld Charger.
Underworld Charger is 2 and a black for a 3/3 nightmare horse that cannot block.
Oh.
But it has escape for 4 and a black. Exile 3 other cards from your graveyard, and you remember what escape does. You then bring it from your graveyard back to the battlefield.
Okay.
But it escapes with 2 +1/+1 counters on it.
Wow.
So it escapes as a 5/5 for 5. Exile 3 other cards from your graveyard that can't block.
Cool. That seems good.
So it's a 3 mana 3/3 or a 5 mana exile 3 other cards 5/5. But both of them cannot block. It's not a bad card. I will agree with you. Yeah, it's not bad.
The Incendiary Oracle has gorgeous art.
It's not a bad card either. It's an early play, right? This isn't a great late game bomb or anything, but it's 1 and a red for a 2/2 creature. For 1 and a red, Incendiary Oracle gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and you can do that any number of times that you have the amount of mana for it.
Okay.
And if a creature dealt damage by Incendiary Oracle this turn would die, exile it instead.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Anything that this kills, it exiles that creature instead. And if this lives, it can keep doing that, but it's only going to have 2 toughness without any other assistance because even its ability only pumps its power.
Right.
So it will likely die in any exchange that it gets into.
Oh, okay.
But it will, if it kills the thing in response, it will exile it instead of putting it in the graveyard. And again, exiling things is extremely important because escape is a thing in this set.
Right.
So, like, if it's exiled, you can't escape it, but if it's not, you can escape it, and that's scary and bad.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, Witness of Tomorrows is also something to point out. It's 4 and a blue for a 3/4 flyer, which is a great card, and for 3 and a blue, you scry 1. So, like, you all didn't just see the face Amy made, but it's a fair face to make because that's expensive, right? Yeah. The thing is in the late game, when you're empty-handed and you have nothing else going on.
And you've got a million mana,
Correct.
but no actual cards that are helping you.
Right. You're going to want to scry that land on the top of your deck to the bottom so that you have a chance to draw gas instead of another land that you don't need.
Right.
That's just... that's just a thing that is... But that's only late game. Now, to be fair, this is 5 mana, so you're probably not getting it out before the late game anyway.
Yeah.
But then it's a 3/4 flyer that they could just kill. So it's, it's a toss-up. It's not a bad card. But again, we looked at this, and this kills this outright. So, then this is just a 5 mana card that you play to later tap 4 to scry 1 with if you're facing something like this on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
So, be aware of that.
All right. So let's pick our Archon then.
Okay, you want to give it a try?
Yeah.
All right, so that's for me, that's how I feel with draft, is that, like, you try cards out. If you play this card and you hate it, then great. You'll know for the future, like, look, this is definitely not for me. But if you play it and you're like, oh, crap, Joe, you were absolutely right. This card's great. Like, it helps you to teach you that cards like this or this card in general is good.
Okay.
So, that was a very lion-y growl that this cow just gave. All right, so now we move on to pick 2. The rare is taken out of this pack because it would normally be up here in the top left, and instead we have 3 uncommons. So let's look at the uncommons. So again, we've picked white, so we can make white a higher priority if we would like, or not, plus the second color is still a thing. Whirlwind Denial. 2 and a blue for an instant. For each spell and ability your opponents control, counter it unless its controller pays 4.
Wow.
So is that confusing or does that make sense? Because
That
this
sounds amazing. It's not.
It is fine. It is basically just a counter spell. It is a 3 mana counter spell unless your opponent pays 4. Like all the other crazy stuff about like for each spell and ability that they control, counter it. The only way that would happen is if multiple things were happening on the stack. Like if you were like, I'm going to activate this. And you're like, well, I'm going to respond by doing this. And you're like, well, I'm going to respond by doing this. And they're like, well, I respond by doing this. So like now you would have a stack of things where you're like, okay, your thing resolves first, then mine, then yours again, then mine again. If you played this card, you'd be like, okay, all the things that you wanted to do, none of them happen unless you pay 4 for each one. In limited, that's not really a thing that's going to happen very often. This is
me reading that made me think like you get to use this more than once, but it's an instant, so that's not a thing.
Correct. So, yeah, this is just, you play it out. Essentially, like, your best case scenario is you tap 3, you play this, and you counter something. It's a 3 mana counterspell, which, to be fair, is not bad, right? A 3 mana counterspell is perfectly fine, and this isn't a perfect counterspell. If they, for some reason, play something and still have 4 mana open, this card's useless to you.
Right.
Or, sorry, that's not fair. It's not completely useless. Because likely if they're playing something like that and they have 4 mana left over, you would assume that they would be doing something else with the rest of their turn with that 4 mana. Yeah. So you can play this to be like, okay, if you want that so badly, tap 4 mana for it.
Right.
And then they waste the rest of their turn. So, like, that's a strategy.
Yeah, but that's one turn. Like, I don't know.
But it's 4 mana. Like, there's very little chance that they're playing something and they still have 4 mana left over and you're not going to want to make them do something. So, yeah, this is not a bad card, but it's not as good as it seems from reading it in that way.
Yeah.
Next is the Careless Celebrant. For 1 and a red, it's a 2/1 satyr. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls.
Wow. Okay.
So it's an early drop that wants to die. You can be aggressive with it and just swing in whenever you want, because if they kill it, it's going to deal 2 damage to them, to a creature or a planeswalker regardless.
I like that card.
It's not bad. The worst case scenario for this is that, like, they have 1 creature and you have this, and you know that this is going to kill their 1 creature, and they don't have any others, and they don't have a planeswalker. Because, like, then they just kill this, and they're like, okay, whatever, yours dies, mine dies, thanks.
Right,
and then you have no target for this death ability.
Right.
But it's still a 2-powered creature. Like, you would know whether you want to get their creature off the board badly enough or not. And worst comes to... or it could also be beneficial where you swing in, they don't want to lose their creature, and they're like, fine, I guess I just take 2. And, like, how many times are they going to do that before they realize that this is a threat that they have to deal with? So...
well, but it only deals 2 damage to a target creature or planeswalker.
when it dies.
It
I'm
doesn't
talking
deal
about
damage to your opponent.
I'm talking about if it attacks and they don't block.
Oh,
like if they're like, I don't want to lose my creature to this thing,
Right.
so I won't block it.
Okay.
Because the other thing is, if they block this with anything with less than 4 toughness, that thing can die from this.
Right.
Because it will take 2 from this, and then 2 from its ability if they kill it.
Oh,
so they would need to be strategic in their blocks as well. If they have only like a higher, like a 3 or 4 toughness creature, this can still kill that. So
I don't think I will remember that, but
okay. I mean, if you pick this card, that's something we can talk about. But if you feel like that's something that you're not going to remember and that it'll just be a trap, then you don't have to pick it. Our third uncommon is Underworld Fires.
that's a cool art.
Yes. For 1 and a red, it is a sorcery, and it deals 1 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So that counts your creatures and your planeswalkers as well as your opponents.
Okay.
And if a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. But again, that also counts yours. So if it kills any of yours, you have to exile that creature on your side, but also on your opponent's.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, you're playing this at the time that it is most beneficial to you, if that is a thing.
Yeah.
So there might be situations where you're like, well, I really want to play this card because I want to get rid of that one thing on their side, but it's going to kill my Careless Celebrant too, and then it gets exiled, you know?
Yeah.
So that's just a thing. So do any of these jump out at you, or you want to look at the uncommons as well? Or the commons, I mean, as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This Fruit of whatever seems interesting.
this card's terrible. But that's fine. We can get to it.
Okay.
Let's look at Heliod's Pilgrim just because we have a white card. So let's make sure that we look at the white cards.
I thought that was an artifact.
This?
Yeah.
No, this is a white card. 2 and a white for a 1/2 human cleric creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. This is 1 white for a 2/4 enchantment creature. So it is just a 3-mana 2/4 creature, but notably it is an enchantment for like an Archon of Falling Stars, where you could return that from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Okay.
If and when this dies, and this is in your graveyard. If we're looking at everything, the Eidolon of Philosophy is 1 blue for a 1/2 enchantment creature. And then for 6 and a blue, and sacrifice the Eidolon, you draw 3 cards.
I was like, that's so expensive. What's about to happen?
Yeah.
Drawing 3 cards is pretty cool.
It's not bad. And obviously it's late game play, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing like we were talking about with the Witness of Tomorrow's, the Sphinx. If it's late in the game and you have nothing else going on, you just sacrifice this 1/2 that's doing nothing else for you, and you draw 3 cards.
Yeah.
It's 7 mana, but you would you could keep up a counterspell or something. And if your opponent doesn't play anything that you want to counterspell, then at the end of their turn, you just tap 7, sack this guy, draw 3 cards, and then on your turn, draw a 4th card, and now you have 4 cards to work with on your turn. But if you play this out early, it's got to live that long.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking this whole time. Because it only costs 1 to play initially.
correct. So you're like, oh, cool, I can play this
feel
on turn 1.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's just there from turn 1, turn 2.
Yep.
And yeah, there's probably no way it actually gets you to a point of you being able to pay 7 mana.
Again, unless you draw late game. That's, or it just sits around doing nothing until turn 7. And then you're like, oh, by the way, I have 7 mana. Let's draw 3 cards. So.
Yeah, and they would probably absolutely forget about that card
Correct.
at that point.
Correct.
They'd be like, wait, what? You're doing something with this now?
Yeah. Then we have Stern Dismissal, also 1 blue. This is an instant. Return target creature or enchantment an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So the reason that this is good in this set is because there are a lot of auras.
Oh.
So if they put multiple auras on one creature, you just bounce that creature, the auras go to the graveyard, and the creature's back in their hand.
Yeah.
So, plus, there is the whole concept of tempo. If they tap 5 mana to play that Sphinx, right, and it was their turn 5, at the end of their turn, or at the beginning, or during your turn, or whatever, you bounce it with this. Now on their next turn, the most they can have is 6 mana if they play a land. And now if they want to replay that card, they have to tap 5 more. Which means they're wasting 2 turns playing this card twice.
Yeah.
So it's a way
That
to
seems pretty good.
yeah, it's a way to like make them essentially lose a turn in terms of playing things. If they have a bunch of creatures on the board that they're attacking with, this does, this can like bounce something in combat or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that this could work. It's not a bad card at all.
Okay. Yeah, it seems really good to me.
Yeah, and the art is insane.
I'm not a huge fan of the art.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
fine.
All right. The fruit that you were talking about.
Yeah.
One black
I'm a huge
mana.
fan of this art, which is why
Oh, that's fair.
I liked it.
Okay. For 1 black, it's a sorcery. Target opponent loses 2 life.
Oh.
And then it has escape. For 4 mana, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. You can replay it for 4 and exile 3 other cards, and they lose 2 more life.
Oh.
Now, with escape, the cool thing with escape is you can keep doing it over and over again. Oh. But you need to have enough cards in your graveyard because you're exiling them in the process.
And you need to be able to pay for it.
Right, of course. So, yeah, I don't think this card's very good. I've seen people use it,
That's all right.
but I don't love it. I think it's kind of a...
It seems fine.
All right. Funeral Rites is 2 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, and put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard.
Okay.
So the reason that you would be milling yourself is to fuel escape.
Right.
Right? You're putting more cards in your graveyard to fuel escape. So that's why you would mill. Obviously, you know why you would draw. And then the losing 2 life is the drawback for black cards having card draw. That's just... Black cards don't usually let you draw cards, and so the trade-off is lose some life for it. So this is not a bad card at all. Omen of the Dead. All of the omens are great. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I love all the omens. They're definitely not pack one, pick ones necessarily, but they're great. 1 black mana for an enchantment with flash, so you can play it whenever.
Yeah.
And when it enters, return a creature from your graveyard to your hand.
Okay.
And then this stays on the field because it's an enchantment. So then at any point, for 2 and a black, all omens have this ability. For 2 and whatever color the omen is. So for 2 and a black, sacrifice the omen, scry 2.
Nice.
So you can do that at the end of a turn if you were holding up a counterspell or something or whatever. Like, you can flash this in on their turn, get a creature back or whatever, and then whenever you want, you can sack it and scry 2 to cater your future draws.
Nice.
Great, great cards. All the omens, I love them. Final Flare, 3 mana instant as an additional cost to cast it, sack a creature or an enchantment,
Okay.
but it deals 5 damage to target creature at instant speed.
Oh. All right.
So that's an option.
Yeah.
Thrill of Possibility is 1 and a red for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card and draw 2 cards.
Okay.
So you discard 1 to draw 2, and it's 2 mana, and it's at instant speed. So you can do it your turn, your opponent's turn, whatever you want.
That seems cool.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
And I love the art on that one as well.
It's very cool. And then a Moss Viper, 1 green for a 1/1 Death Touch snake.
Nice.
Okay? So, now that we've gone through the whole pack, what in this pack is interesting to you?
I feel like it took us so long to get through it. I don't even know anymore.
Yeah.
I guess the Celebrant?
The Careless Celebrant. Okay. Sure. You want to pick this one? So we'll go white-red. Reminding yourself what it does.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I mean it's an early drop creature, and it can, when it dies, it deals 2 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. So you can possibly kill 2 things with this if they're blocking weirdly, or if you're blocking with this thing. Like, you can leave this back on blocks too, and it'll still deal damage through the block and then deal damage as it dies. So it depends on how you want to use it, offensively or defensively.
I really like Stern Dismissal, but I feel like we'll probably come in contact with that again at some point. Like, it wouldn't have to be our pack 2 or like our pick 2.
Right, okay. But if you're picking Careless Celebrant here, then you have a white and a red, so you wouldn't probably want to go into blue also
Right.
at that point. But that doesn't mean that, like, whatever. You decide what seems the most interesting to you. And
What
then,
was
like,
the Pilgrim again?
the Pilgrim lets you search for an aura from your deck, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library, and it's a 1/2 creature.
Yeah.
Okay.
maybe the Omen.
The Omen. The Black Omen. Okay. It's a lot of, this helps you get a creature from your graveyard to your hand. This helps you get an enchantment out of your graveyard. So yeah, there would be a lot of, getting stuff out of your graveyard, which works well with Black's theme of, self-mill and escape and stuff.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do that.
I don't know that I really want to do that. I feel like that's complex and annoying.
That's fair.
But I feel like it's better than other mechanics.
Okay. All right. I mean, I would be able to do my best to help you with it. It's up to you.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, I guess, what would you pick here?
That is actually a genuinely tough question. I'm not a counterspell guy, so I probably wouldn't go with Whirlwind Denial.
I probably wouldn't either.
The Omen is good, but I do not think it's the best card in this pack. I did not see the appeal of Heliod's Pilgrim, but I have seen this card and this deck do insane things in this format. So I feel like to test things for myself, I would pick Heliod's Pilgrim.
Okay.
But we don't have any auras yet, but we probably would see them later on. Yeah, the aura deck is very good here, and I've lost to it enough times to feel like I should get on that train, you know?
Okay, so let's pick that.
Okay. Well, would you look at this pack? Holy crap, this pack's great for us.
Okay.
So we start with an Archon of Falling Stars. Now, notably, this is a 6-mana 4/4 flyer. There are only so many 6-mana cards you're going to put in any deck.
Right, exactly.
And this is pick 3. But this card is also insane.
Right.
So, that's a choice.
Okay.
The Stinging Lionfish is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 enchantment creature fish. And whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent.
Wow. That seems crazy good.
This card's not bad at all. I think the blue-white is not as much the theme of whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn. That's more blue-red. But it could work, absolutely.
Well, I'm not even talking about in our deck. I'm talking about just the card.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I agree.
It seems insane.
Correct.
It only costs 2, and yet it's something that does something each time it's your opponent's turn.
But only your first spell during each opponent's turn.
Still.
That's fair. It's a great card. I agree with you. Because, you play something during their main phase, or when they go to declare attackers, and you just get to tap their best attacker.
Yeah, that's crazy good.
Yep. Or you untap your best blocker, and then block with something. So, yeah. Then we have Furious Rise. So, notably, this is pick 3, so the rare and a common are missing out of this pack. Furious Rise is 2 and a red for an enchantment. So this will stay on the field when we play it.
Okay.
At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card until you exile another card with Furious Rise. So it's just another avenue of... It's essentially like drawing a card, but not really.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a huge fan of that one.
That is fair.
Beautiful art, though.
Yes, it's Clothis. I love Clothis so much. Daybreak Chimera. Notably, we are in mono white currently. That doesn't mean we're staying that way, but still. 3 white for a 3/3 flyer. Mm-hmm. That in and of itself is fine, but this spell costs X generic less to cast, where X is your devotion to white. Do you remember what devotion is?
Yeah.
So it's the number of white pips. So if we have 1 Heliod's Pilgrim on the field, this costs 4. And then it's a 4-mana 3/3 flyer.
Yeah.
So this can be as cheap as 2 white mana, because you can't reduce the colored mana cost. Mm-hmm. So it could be as cheap as 2 white mana for a 3/3 flyer.
That's pretty sweet.
Right. Or as expensive as 5. But still, it's a 5-mana 3/3 flyer is a perfectly fine card. Right? We're paying 6 for a 4/4 here, and possibly a second time. Those are our choices. So this is a great card.
Yeah, I like that one.
And it's a Chimera.
Yeah.
But we also have the Sunmane Pegasus. 3 and a white for a 2/3 flyer. And then for 1 and a white, it can gain vigilance and lifelink until end of turn.
Oh. What is vigilance again?
Doesn't have to tap to attack.
Oh.
So you use it on your turn, you can attack with it. It has lifelink and vigilance, and then it will be untapped to block on your opponent's turn if you want as well.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a really good card. We have very good white flying creatures in this pack so far. There's another Stern Dismissal. There is a Discordant Piper, which is 1 and a black for a 2/1, and when it dies, create a 0/1 goat.
That goat looks so tragic.
Yeah, he's very distraught about what's happening with his life. Another Funeral Rites. Draw 2, lose 2, mill 2. Incendiary Oracle again. Stampede Rider is 2 and a red for a 2/3 with Trample. And at the beginning of each combat, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it basically becomes a 3/4 until end of turn. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it would become a 3/4 with Trample until end of turn.
Nice.
Relentless Pursuit is 2 and a green for a sorcery. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a creature and or a land from among them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard.
Yeah.
So you reveal the top 4. If you have a creature and a land in there, you can get them both. If you have only one of a creature or a land, you get one. But almost certainly in 4 cards, it would be very rare to not see at least one creature or one land. So you're going to get at least one thing.
Okay.
And a Bronze Sword equipment, 1 mana, equip for 3, and equipped creature gets +2/+0.
Okay.
So
I don't love that one.
that's fair.
I
I also don't love that one.
Yeah, I'm really liking this top row.
Yeah, I
With
agree.
the exception of that red card.
Okay.
I kind of like the Pegasus, to be honest with you.
This one here?
Yeah.
Sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You want to pick the Pegasus?
Yeah, I really do.
Okay. Pegasus it is.
Oh God, what was that sound?
It was
I guess
braying
that was
or
the
whatever.
Pegasus.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we have Timuret, Chosen from Death. Black for a 2/0. It's really a 2-star because his toughness is equal to your devotion to black. So at minimum, with just him on the field, he's a 2/2 because you have 2 black pips from him. For 1 and a black, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. So that's yours and or your opponent's.
Okay.
You gain 1 life for each creature card exiled this way.
All right, I feel like that's a cool card.
Yeah, I
but
like him a lot.
I don't really want to go black. I don't think.
That's fair.
Yes.
Because once you do, you'll never be able to go back.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Field of Ruin is a non-basic land. Tap it to add a colorless. And then for 2, tap Sacrifice Field of Ruin. Destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Each player searches their library for a basic land, puts it onto the battlefield, and then shuffles their library. I won't make you think too hard about this one. This card sucks in Limited.
It seems like it.
In Limited, this card is bad. Do not pick this card in Limited.
I hate this card.
You hate the art on this card.
hate this
So
card so
don't
much.
don't look at the art,
Okay, I'm
but
not
listen to
looking.
what it does.
Okay.
It is a 1 white mana enchantment aura enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. And it has escape for 1 white, exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. And you get
Card's
this
insane.
back onto the field to put on another creature +1/+1 and vigilance.
That card's really good.
It's quite good, yes.
and
but-
that would go in our deck.
Correct, because we're mono white so far.
And we're doing aura things.
Correct. But there's another Pegasus as well, if you wanted that.
Yeah.
Still notably 4 mana, only so many 4 mana cards, but 4 mana is you can play with 4 mana slots a little bit more than you can play with 6 mana slots.
Right, obviously.
Chained Memory is a blue for an instant. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. Scry 2.
Is that Jace?
No.
Looks
It
like
looks like
Pirate
Jace.
Jace.
Yeah, I know. It looks like him, but it's definitely not.
I guess he's a little bit more naked than Pirate Jace. Right?
Yeah, a little bit. This is a 4 mana, 4/3 enchantment creature.
He looks pretty sick.
Yeah, but you said you didn't want to go black, so like, you know, this card's fine. I've used it before, but it's definitely not better than some of the other choices in here for us so far.
I love the art on that green one.
This one?
Yeah.
This card's terrible. Sorry.
Like, can you make the art bigger?
No.
Oh.
Sorry, this is the biggest
It's
it
just
can
so
be.
cool looking.
Yeah, no, I mean, Nylea is sweet, but yeah, this card's bad.
Okay.
It's an instant, and you prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn, except combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creatures or enchantment creatures. So, like, if they have any enchanted or enchantment creatures, this card does very little for you. It's very bad. But Farika's Libation, 2 and a black. Oh, you said you didn't want to go black at all? So you want to just skip the black cards?
Yeah, I think so.
If there's one that's insane, like, if you aren't interested in Timuret, that would have been the only black card I would have wanted to show you from this pack.
Okay.
And so that's fine. Irreverent Revelers is 2 and a red for a 2/2. When it enters, you either destroy an artifact or it gains haste until end of turn. So it's either a 3-mana 2/2 haste, or if there's really an artifact that you want to get rid of, you can just destroy an artifact.
Okay.
The Skophos War Leader is 5 mana for a 4/5 Minotaur. For a red, sack another creature or an enchantment. It gets +1/+0 and menace until end of turn.
Okay.
Something. It would become a 5/5 menace if you sacked a creature or an enchantment for a red. Notably, there is a sacrifice deck in this format, but that's red-black. So probably not something we're going this time around.
Yeah, I think the creepy eye card.
The Sentinel Eyes?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is an equipment that gives things flying.
That's, yeah.
Okay, so instead of the Pegasus, you would like to do an
Sentinel's
aura.
Eyes.
You got it. Not a bad choice at all. Okay, we have some interesting stuff here. We've got a Hero of the Pride, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Hero of the Pride, so that includes auras, by the way,
Okay.
all creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great card.
Indomitable Will is an aura with flash, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2, and it's 2 mana.
Cool.
And another 2/4 for 3. It's a creature, but it holds auras and stuff, so it's a somewhat viable option. Another Chain to Memory, a Memory Drain, which is a counterspell, 2 and 2 blue. You counter it and you scry 2. A Venomous Hierophant. Oh, you said we weren't going black. Another Irreverent Revelers. A Loathsome Chimera is 2 and a green for a 4/1 Chimera.
Wow.
It has escape for 4 and a green, exile 3 other cards from your graveyard, and it escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it, so it would escape as a 5/2
Wow.
for
That's
5
an
mana.
insane card.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay.
Look how horrifying it is.
Yeah, it's definitely horrifying. I agree with that.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Another Moss Viper, Death Toucher, 1/1.
Okay.
And an Omen of the Hunt. So this is the green Omen. Okay. 2 and a green for a flash enchantment. They're all flash enchantments. And they all have this sacrifice thing at the end. Tap 3, sack it, and scry 2. But this one, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library.
Okay.
So, what jumps out at you in this pack? I'm assuming it's one of these 3.
Yeah, I think it's the Hero of the Pride.
Makes sense to me. Okay. Well, we only have 1 white card in this pack, but we might be able to pick a second color, or we might pick the white card. Who knows? Okay. There are 2 uncommons. A black card, which is fine. I don't think we're going out of our way for it. Or a Chainweb Arachneer. 1 green mana for a 1/2 with reach.
I love spiders.
Yes. But
in Magic, not like in life, but like spiders in Magic, I always love. I think they're great.
Okay. Well, this one's pretty sweet. When it enters, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying an opponent controls. So that's not great. 1 mana for a 1/2, and it deals 1 damage to a flyer. That's not incredible. The reason that it's good is because it has escape. For 3 green, exile 4 other cards from your graveyard. It escapes with 3 +1/+1 counters on it.
Whoa.
So it comes back as a 4/5 and then deals 4 damage to a creature with flying that they control.
Jesus.
And then sits around as a 4/5 reach to block.
To be insane.
Or to attack as a 4/5. I mean, yeah. Flicker of Fate. So if we wanted to stay white, Flicker of Fate is 1 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature or enchantment, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So you can use this on your opponent's stuff, where you exile it and then exile it and then it comes back, and any auras that it had on it go away to the graveyard. You could use it on one of your things. If they target it, if they're like, hey, destroy target creature, you're like, well, I'll exile it, and then it comes back, and then it can't be the target of that spell anymore because it's a different thing.
Okay.
Or you can do it for, like, a Hero of the Pride, for example, because whenever you cast a spell that targets it, it pumps your whole team, and then he goes away and comes back. So your whole team will be pumped, but because he was targeted.
Cool.
So that's Flicker of Fate works in many different ways. Elite and also, I mean, obviously, there's a huge benefit to cards like this for any card that says when this enters the battlefield. So with Heliod's Pilgrim, when Heliod's Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you get to search for an aura. So if Heliod's Pilgrim is on the field and you flicker it, it goes away, it comes back, it has now re-entered the battlefield, and you can use its ability again.
Nice.
So, and that's any card that says when this enters the battlefield.
All right. So I'd be more than happy to pick the Flicker.
Okay.
I think that's a good price for what it is, for
sure.
Yeah,
it's 2 mana and it's an instant. So, Okay. Very good. Okay, no white cards in this pack, although we do have 2 equipments, but they're not amazing. So maybe we move into a second color.
Okay.
I will notably show you this black card, but whatever. If we're not really going there, that's fine. It's 2 and a black for a flash enchantment aura.
Oh.
When enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under your control.
When any enchanted creature dies?
When enchanted creature dies. You have to put this on a creature.
Oh.
It's an aura, so you enchant a creature with it, and then when that creature dies, whenever it dies, you return that card to the battlefield under your control. So you can put this on something you own that you want to stay alive.
Okay. Or you can put it on your opponent's card if you want it.
Correct.
Cool.
But then it has to die. So this has flash for a reason, because if you know something's about to die, like if they're like, all right, fine, I'll block with this thing in combat and it's going to die in that exchange, but that's fine, I just want to block your thing and kill it. You're like, okay, well, I'll put minions return on my thing that's going to die or on your thing that's going to die, and then I can get it back immediately, and they've already made their blocks or whatever.
Okay.
Seems
good.
Yeah, it's a fine card. There is a Triton Wave Rider for 3 and a blue. It is a 3/3 creature.
But I remember this being good when we did the stream.
Yes. It has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, this gains flying until end of turn.
Oh.
So if you play an enchantment on your turn before your combat, this can attack as a 3/3 flyer. Or if they have flyers and you have let's say a flash enchantment of some kind, where did it go? Oh, did we not pick it? We didn't pick it yet. But there's flash enchantments. If you play a flash enchantment, like that Indomitable Will, the +1/+2 thing had flash, you can play that, this will gain flying, and you can block with it.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I liked it when we did the stream, and I'm just not feeling it today.
Sure. Here is an aura with flash. Speaking of flash auras.
Okay.
3 mana, 2 and a red, for a flash aura enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains first strike until end of turn. But permanently, the creature gets +2/+0.
Oh. Okay.
We have Satyr's Cunning. It's 1 red for a sorcery. Create a 1/1 red satyr with this creature can't block. So you would make this token that you see here on the left.
Yeah.
And then you can escape this from your graveyard for 2 and a red and exile 2 other cards. So you can just make more satyrs for 3 mana and 2 other cards from your graveyard.
Cool.
There are 1/1s that can't block. You have Gift of Strength, 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and reach until end of turn.
That's cool.
And Setessan Training is an aura, 1 and a green for an enchantment aura, enchant creature you control. When it enters, you draw a card. So when you play this, you draw a card. And then enchanted creature gets +1/+0 and trample.
Cool.
So, are there any cards that stand out to you in this?
I don't know. This one's tough.
So I would say, if you need some help narrowing it down,
Yeah.
I would say narrow it down to this
Okay. I was thinking maybe that.
or this.
Or the red one.
Yes.
Okay. So my instincts were pretty
See,
good.
you got to trust yourself. You know what you're doing. So, which do you prefer, the red or the green? And you can also think back, because now we're about to get to the point, I feel like, where we're going to go back to the packs that we've already looked at. Mm-hmm. And so think back to those other packs in terms of what colors may have stood out to you in those packs as well.
Okay.
So did you like the red in the other packs more or the green in the other packs more?
I think the red in the other packs more.
I agree with you.
But I feel like I like the Cetessan training card better.
Okay. I think they...
So I don't know.
Well, okay, so here's a different question then. Look at it this way. This card is if you want to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
This card can work both ways. I see it as more defensive, but if you're attacking in and they block something smaller of yours, you can put this on the thing that's smaller, and it gets more power and first strike until end of turn, so it will kill their thing and their creature won't kill yours in response. So like it kind of works both ways, whereas this is like +1/+0 and trample is not a defensive ability at all.
Right.
But you do get to draw a card, so and it's 1 mana cheaper.
Yeah.
But this has flash, and this one doesn't.
Yeah. And that one's cool.
Which one?
The red. Yeah.
The aspect one, yeah.
And if I were to pick that and go red, white, there are plenty of chances for me to put aggressive red cards in.
Correct.
Even though this one isn't.
Well, I didn't say that.
Necessarily.
I didn't say that. It can be both ways.
Right.
Like I said, I see it more defensively, but then once it's on your creature then has 2 more power. So then you can be more aggressive with it in that way.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's pick that one. I like that.
Well, now we have 1 red card, 1 green card, 2 black, and a blue, and then 2 enchantment or artifacts. These are not enchantments at all. Artifacts. So
They're not.
Starlit Mantle notably is an aura with flash. When it enters the battlefield, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn,
Cool.
and enchanted creature permanently gets +1/+1 while this is on it.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're in an aura deck, it's an aura, like it's something.
That's a great art, but
Yeah, it's cool. Grim Physician is 1 black for a 1/1 when it dies. Target creature and opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn.
okay.
Not a bad card. The Soul Reaper of Mogus is 2 and a black for a 2/3. And then for 2 and a black, sack a creature, draw a card. Like I said, the sacrifice deck is definitely the black-red deck. And that's not really what we're looking to do here. Scophos War Leader is the same thing. You would have to sack stuff. So these two want to be in the same deck, and that's not what we're doing.
That's not our deck.
Relentless Pursuit, if we want to like not go red with the aspect. This was the one, if you remember, reveal the top 4 cards. You can put a creature and or a land, and then the rest go into your graveyard.
Okay. Yeah.
The Bronze Sword, you remember, because you didn't like it. And Traveler's Amulet is 1 mana artifact. Then it's on the field.
Okay.
For 1 mana, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. This is more for a deck that's going to have, like, a splash color
like
of
a
any
third
kind
color.
or a third color. So if we're mono white splash red, this might not be bad, but we have 2 more packs left after this. I assume we're going to pick up more red if we're red, or like switch into a different second color or whatever. But
Yeah.
so
I mean, I'd probably pick the green card here.
sure, the Relentless Pursuit. You got it. It was either that or the Starlit Mantle, and I don't think any of them are the incorrect choices. Although I do think there is a correct choice in this pack.
You do?
Well, look at what our deck wants to do, and look at what this card does.
Or spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Yep.
Yeah. And it's white. Like, the only other white card in the pack is this, which is not a bad card, I will say. 3 and a white for a 3/4. This is our opening pack, I believe, by the way. But 3 and a white for a 3/4. Enchantment creature. Whenever another creature you control attacks, it gets an extra 1 toughness until end of turn. Not a bad card at all. But this is better for what we're trying to do. Our auras are just that much cheaper now.
Okay.
And I don't think there's anything else. Like, this is fine, but it's like we don't even know that we're in green. We know we're in white.
Right.
So, and it does exactly what our deck wants to do. Okay. Was this our... No, this was the second pack then. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Whirlwind Denial is still here. That should tell you something about the Whirlwind Denial.
Yeah.
The Underworld Fires is still here. That should tell you something about Underworld Fires. There's the Nyxborn Courser still. It's a 2/4 creature. It holds auras. It's in white. there's the fruit, which is bad, and there's the thrill, which you said you would liked.
Yeah.
So basically, do you want the thrill of possibility to discard a card to draw 2 cards for 2 mana at instant speed, or do you want the 2/4 creature for 3? 2/4 enchantment creature for 3, which is somewhat relevant if you look at the Archon, for example.
Ooh, which do I want?
So I would say if you aren't sure if you're in red, this is the end of this pack. So it might be safer to stick with white in case you open like a bomb blue or green or black rare in pack 2 or mythic, where you're like, okay, that solidifies my second color. I want to do that.
Okay.
You know, you can stay a little bit more
point,
open.
We have one red and one green.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and like I was saying, especially if this is close for you, you just, this then becomes better by allowing you to stay open.
Okay.
Okay, so you have the stinging lionfish still here, which you said you liked.
Yeah.
This you said you did not like as much.
No.
And the stampede rider, which you seemed
like
intrigued
that.
by, and the bronze sword, which you did not like.
No.
So, red card, blue card.
The satyr, then.
Okay. Okay, and then green card, red card, blue card. So, red card.
Well,
The green one was the I told you this card's
that
terrible.
one's bad.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess this.
It prevents the
satyr
combat
one.
damage except by enchanted or enchantment creatures. So yeah, the satyr it is. That is sometimes even a sideboard card in a deck that is red anyway, just because like it's a 2/2 for 3, but we can talk about that. That's not a big deal. Okay, you just have to pick one. Do you want the counterspell for 4 or the -4/-0 until end of turn scry 2 instant for 1?
I think that one's better.
That's fair. And then another one of these.
Nice.
So pack 2, we have a blue-red legendary creature rare. It's a 2/4. You can tap it to add 2 colorless. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. And equipped creatures you control have flying and haste.
You don't have artifacts.
Correct. This card is almost like it's not for your deck.
Yep.
Onto
It would
the
seem that way.
Yes. Onto the uncommons. We have Hydra's Growth. It is an aura. It is an enchant creature for 2 and a green. When Hydra's Growth enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on enchanted creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, double the number of +1/+1 counters on enchanted creature.
Yes, please.
Do you want to look
I
at the
would
rest?
like that.
Okay. Do you want to look at the rest of the cards?
Yeah.
Okay. Nessian Hornbeetle is 1 and a green for a 2/2 insect. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have another creature with power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on Nessian Beetle.
Nice. It's so cute.
He's adorable. This card's also great. These are both awesome green cards. If this were a true draft and not drafting against bots, this would be kind of annoying because you'd be passing this to your right, and then in pack 3 they'd be passing back to you. So this is not great to see both of these here, but it's fine. The Mischievous Chimera is not really for us in this deck, but this card's great. We played this and it was good.
This card, yeah.
Yeah. Leonin of the Lost Pride, 1 and a white for a 3/1. When it dies, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard.
Oh. Okay.
So if they have one escape card in their graveyard that you really don't want them to be able to get back at any point, you can be aggressive with this card. And if and when it dies, you can get rid of that thing out of their graveyard.
Yeah, that's cool.
Pious Wayfarer is 1 white for a 1/2 with Constellation. So whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Okay. I think the Hydra's Growth is insane.
I agree with you.
Like, I feel like it's by far the best thing here.
Fair. Yeah, I think it's better than this in general and for our deck, no question. The only reason that, like, this card has 2 sides. Either you put this on a card and you've put a target on its back and it dies immediately, but that's fine. Or you put this on a card, they have no response to it, and you win the game.
Right.
Those are your two. Those are your 2 choices.
Yeah,
really.
and honestly, like if it becomes the first one, then it means that like that could also very much be in your benefit, because then they're putting a lot of resources into trying to get rid of that one. and then maybe they end up with a lot less resources to do anything else with, and hopefully you've got something other than just this.
Absolutely correct. And also, the cool thing with this, right, is that you can put it on like a Heliod's Pilgrim. It's a 1/2. But now it's become, which once it's done its enter the battlefield ability, this is just a creature that sits on the field that you're going to probably block with, or like if you can get in for 1 damage, congrats, you attack for 1 and they don't really care. The second you put Hydra's Growth on it, it most likely becomes the most dangerous creature on your side of the field. And when you have stuff like Archon of Falling Stars and Sunmane Pegasus, you want to be able to shift the responsibility of like, this needs to die first to other things so that you can be getting in for bigger damage on other things. Cool. Like it wouldn't be beneficial to put this on your best creature because they already want to kill your best creature.
Right.
You know, then you make them make a choice, which is scarier to them, and you split it up. So, Hydra's Growth it is.
Cool, yeah.
Okay. We don't have to do anything yet, because we just drew Kuneros. But if you want at any point, although, there's another Transcendent Envoy and a Heliod's Punishment and a Triumphant Surge. Wow, this pack's cool. What I was going to say is if at any point you want to get rid of, like, you want to put Chain to Memory in the sideboard?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So we'll do that. Kuneros, if you were unaware, the Hound of Athreos is 1 white-black for a 3/3 Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink. Jesus. Creature cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield, so your opponents can't use Escape.
Oh my god.
And players can't cast spells from graveyards.
That's crazy.
Now, notably, that means that our Archon would not work against enchantment creatures, but we have auras.
Okay.
So this doesn't perfectly block our Archon, which is good because it does work for against us as well. If we have something with Escape and this is on the field, we cannot use our Escape cards because it says creature cards in graveyards, not in your opponent's graveyard. And then players can't cast spells from graveyards, but again, notably, this is not casting it, it's just putting something from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is a very good card, and it's a rare, and it's a rare for a reason. But if you don't want to go black, there are other cards in this pack as well for us, like Heliod's Punishment.
Okay.
1 and a white for an enchantment aura
Nice.
enchant creature. It enters the battlefield with 4 task counters on it.
Okay.
Enchanted creature, you would put this on one of your opponent's creatures, spoilers, but it can't attack or block.
Okay.
It loses all abilities.
Oh my gosh.
And has tap, remove a task counter from Heliod's Punishment. Then, if it has no task counters on it, destroy Heliod's Punishment. So the creature gains that ability. It has tap, remove a task counter from Heliod's Punishment, and the Heliod's Punishment starts with 4 task counters on it. Once it has 0 task counters on it, Heliod's Punishment is destroyed. And then they have their creature back. It can now attack, it can block, and its abilities are active again.
Right.
But on that turn that they've done it, the creature is tapped, because you have to tap it to do the ability.
Oh.
So they're presumably, the best way to do it is really just to do it at the end of your turn.
Right.
Right? They're just like, okay, at the end of your turn, I tap this, and then I untap my creature. Right? Like, and then they just have it again. But this essentially locks it down for 4 turns, whatever it is. Can't attack, can't block, and it loses all abilities.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a very good card. And it's an aura, which is what our deck is doing. The question is it better than Kuneros in your mind? There's another Lena the Lost Pride. We did not pick the last one. So it's 1 and a white for a 3/1, and when it dies, we exile a card from our opponent's graveyard.
Okay.
Another Transcendent Envoy, which is a great card, but also notably one that we saw later. It wheeled from the last pack.
Right, yes.
So it's possible that it will wheel again. And then another white card in this pack for us is Triumphant Surge. 3 and a white, instant. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. You gain 3 life.
Cool.
Not bad at all. It's 4 mana, little expensive. And if they don't have a creature with power 4 or greater, but they're still killing you, this feels very bad sitting in your hand. Yeah. Like, this does not have 4 power or greater.
Right.
And this would absolutely kill you. So, like, this feels bad when you're holding it and you're like, but I want to kill this. So, like, you know, just be aware of that as an option. But to me, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which card do you want?
I really like the Hound.
It's a very good card.
It's so good.
Do you want to take it?
But it's so stupid. We already have red and green. We have no black. I decided I didn't want to do black. And
I told you, if you open a bomb rare, you have to be a little bit open. Like, if you lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like, if you want to keep Hydra's Growth and Kuneros, you can just choose which of them you want to splash. If you want to try to find some, whatchamacallit, some Traveler's Amulets or something like that.
yeah.
That's up to you, though, because Heliod's Punishment is also a great card, and as is Transcendent Envoy, although we talked about hopefully that wheels.
Yeah.
But between these two, like, I think this is
I feel
your
like
choice.
The Hound is way better, though.
Okay. Kuneros it is. I would agree with you, by the way. That card's insane.
Okay.
Okay. Elspeth's Nightmare.
Okay.
We saw this earlier. We didn't
Yeah,
love it.
I'm not thrilled with it.
Dreamstalker Manticore is 2 and a red for a 4/2 enchantment creature. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, Dreamstalker Manticore deals 1 damage to any target.
Wow. Okay.
Creature, opponent, planeswalker, etc. Another Heliod's Pilgrim to get more of our auras.
Okay.
A Karametra's Blessing, 1 white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it is an enchanted creature or an enchantment creature, it also gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Whoa, that seems nuts.
For 1 white, yes it does. For 1 white mana, yes it does.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Or another Pegasus.
Yeah,
Karametra's Blessing?
yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
You got it. Okay. Wow. Interesting. So there's a Glory Bearers like we saw before.
Okay.
There is Reverent Hoplite, 4 and a white for a 1/2 human soldier. When it enters the battlefield, you make a number of 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens,
Yeah.
this here on the right, equal to your devotion to white.
Wow.
So that's 5 mana.
Yeah.
Speaking of caring about your devotion to white, here is Daxos, Blessed by the Sun.
Yeah.
He is 2 white mana for a legendary enchantment creature, Demigod.
Okay.
Daxos' toughness is equal to your devotion to white.
Wow.
So he is a 2-star. And then whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life.
That's nuts. That one, please.
Yeah, this is very good in our
Picking
deck.
it.
Also, notably, an enchantment, so the Archon can get him back if he dies.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting. So there's a Traveler's Amulet, if we want to look at it for
nice.
splashing.
Okay.
There's an Ichthyomorphosis, which is notably an
That's a
enchant
good
creature.
card.
But we don't have any blue. This would be us going into blue. We have an Indomitable Will, which is a flash enchantment. We saw it
Let's
earlier.
do a 5-color deck.
Yeah, why not? That's totally what you want in a devotion-based format. That cares about the number of white pips
What?
that you
Well,
have.
we have an amulet.
The amulet lets you get lands, not white devotion. Indomitable Will is 1 and a white flash. Enchanted creature gets +1/+2. So it's a flash aura, not a bad card. There's an Omen of the Sun as well. 2 and a white for an enchantment with flash. It's the white Omen. Mm-hmm. When it enters, we make 2 of these soldiers, and we gain 2 life. And then at any later point, we can sack it for 3 and scry 2.
Okay.
Omens are great. They are always great. And a Triumphant Surge. We didn't take the last one. Here's another Triumphant Surge if we want that one. So I would say it's between these 3 or the Traveler's Amulet if you really want to, like, push
I'm gonna
towards...
defer to you on this one. It's getting tricky for me.
Okay. Well, I'll ask you some questions. Joe went to law school. Let's do the Socratic method. I'll answer your question with a question.
Okay.
So this is a flash aura,
Uh-huh.
right? Can we see? This doesn't...
We want auras all day, don't we?
Yes and no. We want auras all day, that's correct, but we also want creatures to put those auras on.
Okay.
So we have to make sure
Fair
that we have
enough.
enough creatures.
Fair enough.
So our aura count right now is 1, 2, 3, 3. While our creature count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of creatures. We don't have as many auras.
Okay.
Or do we want to prioritize getting Kunaros? So we can narrow it down to Traveler's Amulet or Indomitable Will. I would say if you need more tips, this is not the best aura in the world, but it does have flash. So this messes up combat in both directions, offensively or defensively. But if you want to play Kunaros, which also messes up combat very much, then you would need a couple of things.
Isn't there like more
this.
of a chance that we'll see more amulets than that we'll see of those things?
No, only because this only goes in a white deck. This goes in all decks.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, and this is a common. Just because it's up top here on the top left doesn't mean it's good. It just means that it's the top uncommon.
Okay.
So this will be picked by anyone that needs fixing. Okay. This will only be picked by people in the white deck that need
All right, let's pick the amulet.
Okay. Plus, you might need more than one amulet to be able to splash. Dang. Well, there's only one white card in this pack.
Oh, well,
in the Sunbane Pegasus.
So we can pick it.
Right, but there's also green cards if you want to look at Hydra's Growth. There's a black card that matters, which this is, again, more for the sacrifice deck. It's 2 mana for a 1/3 enchantment creature, but you can tap one, sack a creature, and each opponent loses one and you gain one. It's more for the sack deck. It's a great card in that deck, but not in ours, really. And then for green cards, we have Plummet, tap 2.
I love Plummet.
2 instant, destroy a creature with flying. Or return to nature, 1 and a green, instant, choose one. Destroy an artifact, destroy an enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. This card's great in this format because exiling a card from a graveyard is good for stopping escape. If it's an escape card, you just get rid of it. Or there are enchantments everywhere, so you can just destroy an enchantment. So, like, this card's great, but is it better than the Sunbane Pegasus?
Probably not. But I really like Plummet. Like, Plummet's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
If any of you are familiar with any of our other channels, I hate birds.
That's true. You should watch our video game channel videos, specifically Pokemon. But yeah, okay. So now we are stuck with black cards. There are 3 black cards here. Notably, we talked about Minion's Return already.
Yes,
and what it does. There's an Omen, which is an enchantment. There's the Fruit, which is not good. And then there are
3
red cards. There's a 7/3 enchantment creature for 5.
Okay.
There is a Wrap in Flames, 3 and a red for a sorcery. It deals 1 damage to each of up to 3 target creatures.
Whoa.
And those creatures can't block this turn.
Jeez.
And there is the Triumph of Anax Saga, 3 mana. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 all do the same thing. So when you play it, then the next turn, and then the next turn.
Oh.
Until end of turn, target creature gains Trample and gets +X+0, where X is the number of lore counters on the Triumph of Anax. So again, obviously you'd have 1 lore counter, 2 lore counters, 3 lore counters, depending on what's going on. And then on turn 4, target creature you control fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Again, it's a long walk to get there, but that's why I said I don't enjoy the uncommon sagas. I've said that many times.
Yeah, so for me it's between the Omen and this Return guy.
Sure. So are either of them, do you think, good enough if we're only splashing black to even get in the deck at all?
That's a fair question.
Hey, thanks. Because the other thing is we do have an Unknown Shores, which taps to add a colorless, or for 1 and tap, you add 1 mana of any color. Now, notably, this card's not great, because anything that you want to cast splash-wise, so basically if we want to cast Kunaros with Unknown Shores, we would need an extra mana. So Kunaros would cost 4. But if we have no other ways to cast Kunaros, Unknown Shores is a fine card for that
Yeah,
purpose.
and I still honestly feel like Kunaros would be good if it costs 4.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. So, and that's why I'm saying, like, if you're not putting this in your deck and you're not putting this in your deck, but they're still good cards, I would pick Unknown Shores instead of either of them if you're only splashing black for Kunaros.
All right. Well, so is that what you're suggesting? Or do you think that they would be good enough to be in the deck?
I think all of the Omens are good, but I think in a splash color, this is very bad. And I would argue the same kind of thing for this.
Okay.
Like, this, you want to be able to do this at the most opportune time for you. But if you're fighting for like, where is the black mana that I need?
Right.
Neither of these are going to be good in a splash color. Whereas this gets you out of a bind to get this on the field as early as possible,
Okay.
especially because it's a low drop, right? If this costs 7 mana, that would be a different story because then you'd have all the time in the world to get your fixing
Exactly,
out.
yeah.
But this is a land. So you can play it and add colorless with it to play your other stuff.
Right.
Right, but and then when you need it, you have it for Kuneros.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I will say I don't love that card. I said that earlier and I meant it. I don't think this is a great card, but it's here. Okay, so there are red cards.
Yeah.
There is a white card, and there's a green omen.
Okay.
So white omen, green omen, or Underworld Ragehound, 1 and a red for a 3/1 that attacks each combat if able, and with escape 3 and a red, exile 3 of their cards from your graveyard, and it escapes with a +1/+1 counter, so it would be a 4/2 if it escaped. And then Rapid Flames again, 1 damage to each of up to 3 creatures they can't block.
I like the Hound.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't really like Grab and Flames. It's fine.
Okay, so we're still in pack 2, but I would say by the end of this pack, we're gonna have to make a decision between this red or this green.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Just letting you know that. So like that is your decision with like, if you like the Hound, that's cool. Realize Hydra's Growth is still here too.
Right.
So like be aware of that.
So
Omen
what's
of the
the
Hunt.
green?
Well, Omen of the Hunt gets us a land. You can search for a land. But if it's in your like a splash color, then this isn't great. Because like sure, you could go get a swamp with it, but then you need to have enough green to warrant this having a high enough place in your deck.
Right.
Because, like, if you have Hydra's Growth and Kuneros, like, you know, those are your 2 cards.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of your decision there. So the choice then for you is green omen, red creature, white omen that makes 2 creatures. And you gain 2 life. Do you have any that you want to eliminate? Where you're like, you know what, that 1 isn't good enough. Narrow it down to maybe 2 instead of 3.
I don't even know.
Okay, so let me ask you, what are you feeling in terms of red and green?
I really like the Hydra's Growth and the Relentless Pursuit. And I kind of don't really care about these red ones.
Okay, so then maybe we're not red.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's get rid of the red. Yeah.
But I think the problem with that is, like, I really feel like this Hound is a good card.
This one?
And the Omens, I feel like it's harder to decide the importance between the 2 Omens than, you know.
Okay. Well, again, you have 2 green cards right now.
Yeah.
So this one's not good enough if you only have 2 green cards. Okay. If you pick up a bunch more green in pack 3, then this gets better. But if you don't have enough green mana, this being in your deck to help you get lands isn't good when one of the lands that you're looking for is the land to play this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that
So
means
the
this
White
is
Omen.
better.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Mischievous Chimera came back. That's interesting.
Wow.
And here's a green omen. So, I mean, now you can take it because you got nothing else.
Yeah.
So, great. Now you've got 1 of each.
Nice.
Look what came back.
Good.
Okay. Well, you could take this green card. That's kind of the best thing in here for you. Like, Farika's Libation is a fine card, but I assume you only want to splash black for this if you can help it. Is that fair?
I mean...
So Farika's Libation is 2 and a black for an instant. Choose 1. Target opponent sacks a creature, or target opponent sacks an enchantment. So this card is good played early when they only have one of those options.
Oh.
Because then it basically just says destroy target creature or destroy target enchantment. But if they have multiple enchantments or multiple creatures, you play this card, you pick one, right? It's still your choice to pick one,
Right.
but then they get to pick their worst creature or their worst enchantment to sacrifice. So
that's
if they have multiples of each, it's
Yeah.
their choice which creature or which enchantment to get rid of.
Yeah,
That's
no.
why I'm saying it's best if they have only one of those choices.
Right. Right.
Because then you're like, wow, that enchantment's really scary. Thankfully, you only have one of them, so please sacrifice an enchantment, aka I'm going to destroy that enchantment.
Right.
You know, something like that.
So in that case, maybe it costing 3 doesn't make a ton of sense. Like if it costs 1 or 2, then maybe you'd like it a bit more.
Sure. Well, and it's our splash, so it's also possible that we just can't play it on turn 3 if we don't have our splash stuff.
Absolutely.
Nexus Wardens is 2 and a green for a 1/4 with reach.
Okay.
And Constellation, whenever an enchantment enters, we gain 2 life.
Okay.
Which is not bad. It might get cut, but it's something.
It's fine.
Sure. 3 red cards. There's the Underworld Fires, which you didn't love.
Yeah.
The Irreverent Revelers, which we have 2 of already.
Right.
And the Portent of Betrayal, 3 and a red, gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap it, it gains haste, and scry 1.
I like that one.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we're not playing it probably regardless.
Another Underworld Fires. We could have had like 3 or 4 of these. I still don't think they're that
Flames.
good. But and a Plummet.
Plummet came back. Yay.
Good.
Now I'm happy we picked green.
Good. All right, so this goes away. This goes away. Well, would you look at this fun pile of fun? Okay, there are actually a number of good choices. First of all, check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so this blue card, let's just look at it. We're not picking it, but let's just look at it. 2 and a blue for a 2/2. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, draw a card.
Okay.
That's a very good card
That is a good
for
card.
that deck, which
I love
we are
the
not.
art because it's hilarious.
It's a horsefish.
Yeah.
Creature horsefish. Alseid of Life's Bounty is 1 white mana for a 1/1 lifelink.
Oh.
Tap 1, sacrifice it. Target creature or enchantment you control gains protection from the color of your choice until end of turn.
Ooh, that's nice.
This is a very good card. The Birth of Meletis. So this is a white saga at uncommon. Chapter 1, search your library for a basic plains, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Chapter 2, create an 0/4 colorless artifact creature token with Defender. It's a wall.
It's a wall.
And chapter 3, you gain 2 life.
That sounds bad.
It sure does. This card sucks. And Field of the Dead, which is
Also
not good
bad.
as well. Dreadful Apathy, on the other hand. 2 and white for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block. And then for 2 and a white, exile enchanted creature.
Nice.
So you can do that at any time later on because you will own this aura.
Yeah.
There's a white omen and there's a transcendent envoy. Now
I mean,
both.
we already have 2 of each of those.
Do we have 2 aura? No, we don't have 2 white omens. But regardless,
I
no.
could have sworn we did.
No. But this transcendent envoy wheeled both times that we saw it.
Yeah.
And this is pick 1 from this pack. So it is very likely that it will wheel again.
Right.
So I would say your choices here are between the Alseid of Life's Bounty or the Dreadful Apathy.
Yeah.
And we talked about not needing creatures as badly as you needed auras.
Fine. I
But-
like the other one better.
Okay,
though.
do you want to pick this one?
Yeah, I think
All right,
I do.
That's fine. We will pick it then. Okay. There's another Sentinel's Eyes.
Okay.
There's another Karametra's Blessing.
Oh.
There's another Unknown Shores. But I would say if you were going to pick Unknown Shores, your better choice is Altar of the Pantheon. 3 mana for an artifact. Your devotion to each color and each combination of colors is increased by 1.
Nice.
So the cards that we have that care about devotion to white would be bumped up by 1.
Right.
And you can tap it to add 1 mana of any color.
Sweet.
If this part almost doesn't matter, but we do have Daxos. If you control a god, a demigod, or a legendary enchantment, you gain 1 life.
Cool.
So that part is less pertinent, but this does add 1 mana of any color for our splash for Kuneros.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay.
But
do you like it more than
that will wheel?
That is a very interesting question. I do not know.
Because then maybe we try to focus on picking the blessing or the eyes.
I think that
Because both of those are also really good
yeah.
for us.
I actually don't know. That's a really damn it, Amy, with the tough questions. Why? Why you got to do this to me? No, I really have no idea. Again, in a normal draft, I would say this goes in any deck.
Yeah.
These go in only white colored decks.
Yeah.
So I would probably pick this sooner than I would pick these because
But it's
we
not a
need it.
human picking the cards. It's
Correct.
A bot.
It's a bot. Yeah.
So what do you think?
I have no idea. I cannot sit here and pretend to.
All right. So let's pick
know
the
what-
altar because it's what we need more right now.
Plus, we already have one of each of these, thankfully. So let's just look at this rare, by the way. I will keep my finger away from the left mouse button while we're looking at it. But it's 1 and a blue for a 1/1 human wizard. It's a rare. Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may have Protean Thaumaturge become a copy of another target creature, except it has this ability. Very weird card. Very weird. Altar it is. Okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
our lionfish is back.
Yeah, another stinging lionfish. I mean, we're not in blue, so we do have a green card though. That's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
but don't you want to be in blue now? I mean, look, the lionfish, the turtle, that thing that I can't pronounce.
Ichthyomorphosis.
Those are all really good cards.
I agree with you. But let's look at the white and the green and the
Okay.
black.
Okay.
So first of all, Enemy of Enlightenment.
Yes.
5 and a black for a 5/5 flying. It gets -1/-1 for each card in your opponent's hands. But at the beginning of your upkeep, each player discards a card.
I don't like it.
That's fair. And again, we only have one card splashing for black,
Yeah.
so when we were deciding between green and red, it's a good thing we didn't have this. This is 1 red green for a 4/4 trample. So 3 mana 4/4 trample that can't attack unless you control another creature with power 4 or greater. Nyxborn Courser again, so a 2/4 for 3. Another Omen,
Yep.
or a Nylea's Forerunner. 4 and a green for a 5/3 trample. Other creatures you control have trample.
Oh, yeah.
And there's another Relentless Pursuit in this pack as well.
Yeah, no. I really like Nylea's Forerunner.
I agree. You want to take that one?
Yes,
No problem.
I sure do.
I agree with you.
The
Okay,
Chimera's back.
there's another Chimera. We have one, right?
We do
No,
not.
we do not. We didn't take
picked
it.
the Pegasus.
Oh, that's right. There were, because it was this or an Archon or a Pegasus. And
yeah,
picked the
we
Pegasus.
already had an Archon.
Yeah, that was a sick pack
That
for
was.
us. Threnody Singer is here, but we're not taking it. There's a Thundering Chariot, 4 colorless for a vehicle.
I love vehicles.
It's got First Strike, Trample, and Haste.
Dang.
Crew 1, and it's
That's
a
nice.
3/3. There's a Captivating Unicorn, 5 mana for a 4/4 with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, tap target creature an opponent controls. Or the Chimera, as you mentioned. There's a Legion of the Lost Pride that when it dies, you can exile a card from their graveyard. And there are 2 green cards as well. Setessan Skirmisher is 1 and a green for a 2/1 with Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters, it gets +1. This gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And this is a 1/2 or 2 mana 2/2. Excuse me. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. And then for 2 and a green, you can put the top card of your library into your graveyard.
I think the Chimera.
Makes sense to me. Okay. There's another Hydra's Growth. There's another Karametra's Blessing,
Oh my
or
gosh.
an Omen of the Sun,
Oh my god.
or a Lagona Band Storyteller. 3 and a white for a 3/4 creature. When it enters the battlefield, you may put target enchantment card from your graveyard on top of your library. If you do, you gain life equal to its converted mana cost.
Oh my god. How much does that one cost?
4. This is 4, 3, 1, and 3.
All right, I'm gonna need some help with this one.
Okay, so I would say you're narrowing it down between these two.
Okay.
And we talked about needing auras more than creatures.
Yeah.
And 2 of these is a lot better than 1.
Yeah. All right.
Obviously, you would not put them on the same creature. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But, because again, like I said, you want to disperse your threats as much as
Right.
possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
that's the point of it.
correct.
Oh my god.
Well.
Another Daxos?
Well.
It's legendary, so we wouldn't be able to have two out at the same time.
Right, but it would allow you to be a lot more aggressive with one of them if
Yes.
you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or block a lot more aggressively, I should say. It's only going to have 2 power no matter what, unless you're putting auras on it to pump up its power and toughness.
Yeah.
But there's another Birth of
That's
Meletis.
shitty.
This card's terrible. Another Sentinel's Eyes.
Yeah.
This card's fine. And a Triumphant Surge.
Okay.
Is it Daxos, or is it
Daxos.
Sentinel's Eyes?
No, yeah, it's Daxos.
Makes sense to me. There's a Flicker of Fate,
Yeah.
or a Revoke Existence.
What is that?
1 and a white, sorcery, exile target artifact or enchantment.
Oh. So it's not a creature.
Well,
It's an artifact or enchantment, but there's a lot of enchantments in this set, and some of them are enchantment creatures.
Correct.
Does that still count?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It's
so then
part
that
enchantment.
card.
Yeah,
That card.
that makes sense to me. Yeah.
It's that one.
Sure. And again, otherwise it was Nexus
It's that
Wardens.
one.
Yeah, it's definitely Revoke. Yeah, Revoke is very good. Okay, there's another Flicker of Fate.
Sweet.
There is another Leona the Lost Pride.
Okay.
Did we ever take one of them?
We
no,
did
we did
not.
not. We do not have any. Or there is Dawn Evangel. 2 and a white for a 2/3 enchantment creature. Whenever a creature dies, if an aura you controlled was attached to it, return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Now that's a lot of things that have to happen for this card to
that
work.
doesn't sound good.
Right. And let's look. Creature with converted mana cost 2 or less we would be able to get back from our graveyard to our hand. Let's see what that works with.
Like 3 things.
2 Transcendent Envoys.
Okay.
We do have 2 of those. Hero of the Pride.
Okay.
Both Daxoses.
Oh.
And the Alsaid of Life's Bounty. That is 6 different things
That's actually a lot
that
better
this
than I
can
thought.
get back. But in order for us to be able to get it back, it's going to go to our hand. And it only happens when a creature dies that was enchanted with an aura that we control.
Yeah, that's like you said. That's a lot of things that would have to happen.
Right. But is this better than a Flicker of Fate and or a Leonin the Lost Pride? I would argue that it's better than the Leonin,
But
but
not
then
the
you're
Flicker.
well, I don't know. I'm giving you the choice. Flicker or Dawn Evangel.
No, I think Flicker.
You got it. I do not think that's a bad choice. Hey, look, a Birth of Meletis. Hey, look, an Omen of the Sun. But hey, look, a Transcendent Envoy. Which would you like? Basically between these two, which is better to you?
I think we only have one of the omens.
We have 1 Omen and 2 Envoys.
Yeah, so let's take the omen.
Okay. We have the Karametra's Blessing and the Sentinel's Eyes wheeled
Oh my
out of this pack.
god. All right, can we go over those again? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I don't know how to pick out of those 2.
Sentinel's Eyes is 1 white for an aura enchant creature. It gets +1/+1 and vigilance, and it has escape for 1 white, exile 2 other cards from your graveyard. Now, notably, don't forget, if Kuneros is out, we cannot cast spells from our graveyards, so we would not be able to get Sentinel's Eyes back with escape, but that's only if Kuneros is out. And Karametra's Blessing is 1 white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's an enchanted creature or an enchantment creature, it also gains hexproof and indestructible until
That's
end of
way better than the other one.
turn. Okay? Do we
Okay.
want the 2/4
we do.
or the wings?
No.
Okay. Do we
Okay,
finally
nice.
want a Leonin, or
We
do we
sure
want
do.
a 1/3 flyer that when it enters, scry 1 for 3 mana?
No.
Okay. Do we want the Eidolon or a counterspell?
The Eidolon.
Okay.
I actually liked that one.
Well, it's still going in the sideboard.
Oh my god, we're Luxacs already. We haven't even played.
We're going to have to make a lot of cuts, I tell you what. All right, let's switch how this looks. Okay. So here is our deck so far.
It's
We need
pretty
to make
sick.
10 cuts.
No. Oh, the torture.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting. So can I tell you something?
Sure.
If we cut green, all of our green, we still have more cuts to make. So we could be a mono white deck splashing Kuneros if we wanted to be. We'd be getting rid of 2 Hydra's growths. That's definitely the biggest thing we'd be getting rid of. Would be 2 of these. But we would be able to be mono white devotion
Yeah.
auras.
And you know what? If that's
Splashing,
the worst thing,
splashing Kunos.
if that's the worst thing we're getting rid of by getting rid of green, I don't hate that.
Well, and Nylea's Forerunner is cool too.
Yeah.
But okay.
I'm not married to that.
So let's do that. Well, I would hope not. You would have to tell me something like that. All right. So we now have 43 out of 40. We still need to cut 3 cards.
Okay. Well, we can cut our fixing.
No, we cannot. We still have Kunos.
Oh.
So we have Altar of the Pantheon and Traveler's Amulet are our only fixing to get Kunos out.
Well, what about this land thing over here?
Oh, and the Unknown Shores.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we could
3
probably
things.
get rid of the unknown shore thing, right? Because we have the other 2.
We have 2 things. So do you want 2 or 3? Because the thing with Unknown Shores, right, is that it's there as a colorless producing land if we don't have Kunos out or if we already have Kunos out. Like, you can still tap it for one of the colorless for the Archon or the Pegasus or something like that.
So that one's actually better than, say, the amulet, I guess.
Then the amulet only. The altar still taps for mana of any color no matter what. So this and this are fine. It's just that the amulet helps us. We would basically play 1 swamp.
Right.
We play 1 swamp, the amulet, the altar, and the Unknown Shores.
Right.
So we need to get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we need to go into lands then. And pick planes. So 11, 12, 13. We need 4 more land. Do we... Where the hell is that? There we go. Okay. So now we have 17 land, and we have 43 cards, which means we need to... get out of here. We need to... cut 3 more cards.
Oh, boy.
So... we have...
Duplicates, I guess.
Yeah, but not necessarily... Well, it depends, right? You want to cut a Daxos?
No,
You want to cut a Flicker of Fate?
not really.
You want to cut a Sentinel's Eyes? A 2/4 enchantment creature?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so we can cut one of those. So let's take a look at our curve, by the way.
Okay.
Like, it shows the little tiny preview here. We can also go like this and look at it. Like, our top end is very low. We're mostly early on stuff. And everything in our top end are creatures. But yeah, this is what our top end looks like, basically. Or our low end, excuse me, looks like, basically. And then our top end is all flyers.
All right.
All these guys.
So maybe we cut a Pegasus?
That's up to you. Do you want to cut our top end? I wasn't saying we cut from the top end.
Yeah, because there's not
But there's not a lot of it. You cut from the bottom end, just not a lot. There are 2 omens. Do we like both of them, or do we want just one?
I mean, the thing that I like about this is, like, it kind of allows you to go wide
Yes.
early on.
Yes, and it allows you to scry later on to cater your draws.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
Okay. Revoke Existence you like? Exile and Enchantment?
Yeah.
Okay. Heliod's Pilgrim gets auras for us. And the nice thing about this, right, is that we have offensive auras and defensive auras. Right, because we have... Oh, we didn't take any... No, we didn't take any defensive auras. Well, never mind. Yeah, because we had the option of the Dreadful Apathy, which makes something not attack or block, and we had the option of the Heliod's Punishment. But for Heliod's Punishment, we took Kunos instead, which I would say is okay. So, and never mind. We, in terms of auras, what do we have? We have 2 Sentinel's Eyes. Two Sentinel's Eyes. Wow. Wow.
Alright, so we cut one of the Sentinel's eyes.
Well, no. I think you cut the Heliod's Pilgrim that goes and gets you auras. Because we only have 2 Sentinel's Eyes.
Oh,
and we have
auras.
2 Transcendent Envoys that make our auras cheaper, but the only auras we have cost 1 white. So we can't make them cheaper by 1.
Get rid of the envoys.
Both of them? Or get rid of a Heliod's Pilgrim, a 3-mana 1/2, as opposed to a 2-mana 1/2. We only need to make 2 cuts. So we get rid of 1 Envoy and 1 Heliod's Pilgrim.
Perfect.
Okay.
Done.
Okay. This deck's weird now. I don't know that I like it. That's fine. We will play this next time, by the way. That's going to be the end of this video. But we'll play this next time, and worst comes to worst, we can put a little bit of green back in for the Hydra's growth to try to, like, make some other things some threats. Because, like, right now, this is easily the best card in our deck, but they kill this, and we're just kind of sitting here with flyers hoping that we can get there.
Hey, flyers are good to have.
I agree, but we only have 4 of them, and one of them's a 1/2. So, we shall see. You know, Sentinel's Eyes is cool, Karamitra's Blessing is cool, like, we can try to do some stuff here. But that is going to be it for us from here at the Geek for All family of channels. Please feel free to let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did we do this wrong? We would love to hear your thoughts on that. Please let us know down below. It would be, we would enjoy that. It also helps us out to do all that fun YouTube stuff, liking, commenting, subscribing, ringing the bell, checking out our other channels. As Amy mentioned earlier in the video, we have a video game channel and a gluten-free for all channel. So definitely check those out. Those will be popping up on the screen, other videos, other series, etc. But as I said, that's going to be the end for us here. I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.